Hey guys, it's Tugstyle. Welcome back. Sorry I haven't posted in a while. I've honestly just kind of been lazy and haven't wanted to. So yeah, sorry. Anyway, this morning I got like 3 hours of sleep last night, and this morning I had to go for a run. So that was fun. I'm exhausted now. I guess I was exhausted beforehand, and now even more tired. Then I got work later, so that's great. Anyway, I have noticed, and you probably have noticed as well, especially if you're on a platform such as Instagram or something, people seem to, at least young white boys, um, have started kind of idolizing the big H, and I find it interesting because a lot of people just see that as a direct idolization of him. It's not quite what's happening. So, understandably, right? Like, you look at all the people, throwing double H's out there and stuff, and you immediately assume, like, oh, these guys are Nazis. Um, and while it's true that there are some actual Nazis out there, typically, though, those guys are just like the fringe. The reason why people seem to idolize, the painter, um, it's it's a lot different. It's not so much a direct idolization of him, but it's more like he's become a symbol for various things. But mainly, I mean, if we're putting aside any other notions, the reason he's so popular is because the youth of today kind of looks at what he did, and by that I mean like the good parts of what he did, such as restoring the economy and getting rid of foreign nationalism. Uh, they look at that kind of stuff and they wish that we had it here in America. Like we had, someone like that in America who would kind of weed out all the government corruption. Um, Sorry, my cat is bothering me. Anyway, so it's not so much of a direct idolization of him. It's more like he's become a symbol. So when people throw out the double H's and stuff, they don't always mean that they're in support of that guy fully. Personally, like I'm not, right. At least I'd probably not. I'm fairly certain that he was in league with the Freemasons. That's a whole other thing though. But essentially, but I can see where a lot of the Gen Z youth is coming from with idolizing him. So I just kind of wanted to get into that. So, first off, I would like to start out, at least with the kind of points I'm going to make here. It's not what it looks like, if that makes sense. Okay, so a lot of people, their first instinct when they, hear the words like fascist or anything like that is to immediately associate it with, like Mussolini and Hitler and Mosley and these types of guys. Mosley was awesome, by the way. I don't care what anyone says. Anyway, but they don't really kind of think about why maybe people are so invested into this, the painter, but it's because they see the appeal of, or it's not they see it's just the overall appeal of a strong leader, right? Because no matter what you think about what he did, I mean, it is an objective fact that he was a very strong leader, and he did. Oh, jeez. That he was a strong leader and that he did somewhat care about his country at least. And so the youth kind of sees that, and they see the lack of that in our own current politics, and so therefore they start idolizing him. And again, not directly. They kind of see him as more of a symbol, or at least that's just what he's become. It hasn't become like a direct, like when someone throws a double H, they don't always mean specifically him, right? They're just saying it as a kind of uh, dog whistle isn't the right word, but I can't think of anything else. But that kind of thing, and it's interesting to see because I can understand where a lot of people come from, and I personally myself don't quite mind it. I know a lot of people get super offended and stuff when people say stuff like this. I don't, because I know where people are coming from. Typically, again, there's always, the occasional fringe person who actually directly supports this guy and directly idolizes him. Most of the time, when people throw a double H, they don't actually mean the big guy, the big H. They aren't actually idolizing him. They're more idolizing what his movement kind of stood for. And whether you agree with that or not, that's, that's its own thing, but that is what's happening. So it's kind of just a response to the way our governments have been treating us. People just look at the past. They look they look at the German people who kind of rose up against the very blatant foreign national corruption. I mean, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's a certain group of people. And they were, if you believe in the, like, if you do or do not believe in the cost, whatever, like the big event with the camps, I really can't say too much or I'll get banned, but whether you believe in that or not, it's whatever. But there was a lot of that kind of stuff going around. I mean, like, there were child brothels in Germany prior to Nazi takeover, and other stuff like this. And yes, and these people were also in charge of a lot of banks, stuff like that. They funded both sides in World War I, and funnily enough, they also funded both sides in World War II. Again, that's just really a whole nother discussion, but essentially what I'm trying to say is there was reasoning for it, right? The German people didn't just randomly up and at them one day and just decided to blame one specific group for all their problems. There was reasoning behind it, and I think people today just kind of see that how they stood up to corruption like that, especially like foreign influence, and did something about it, and they're just jealous and they want something like that to happen here. So that's why idolizing the painter has become such a popular thing to do. It's because people they're kind of missing that spirit that I guess he kind of embodied, and so they use him as a symbol more than anything. Like, obviously these people who are throwing up double H's and stuff and 88s and whatever, they know that he's dead, and probably they know he's dead and that he's not coming back, but they still say this slogan regardless, because I mean, obviously they don't actually mean him directly. It's more of just a term that they use to kind of stand out, and especially since they know it's offensive, right? They know people get mad about it, and so they kind of use it as a stick it to them type of thing. And that's kind of what it's become. That's kind of what idolizing people like Hitler, that's what it's become. It's become less about the actual person and more about the ideologies, what they stood for and stuff like that. So, yeah, a lot of people see this kind of, create this craze that's been kind of sweeping, especially places like Instagram. They see it and they immediately assume, oh my gosh, fascism is on the rise. It's horrible. And in reality, it's more just people are kind of fed up with the way things were, and they're immediately gravitating towards the most prominent historical example of people rising up to deal with this sort of foreign influence. And they're jealous of it, and they would like to replicate it. So you can interpret it how you will, but that's kind of what's happening there. And I have a decent level of respect for these people. I know a lot of people just, like if someone throws out a double H or something, right? A lot of people their first immediate reaction is just, oh my gosh, this guy's an evil fascist Nazi, whatever. I guess I would just say I'm a little more open to discussion and hearing people out than others. But I can still see why people wouldn't support other people who support that kind of stuff, I guess, if that makes sense. Because, like, fascism isn't the greatest ideology out there. National Socialism isn't really the greatest. With National Socialism, I don't really like National Socialism. I actually don't mind fascism that much. But that's just the ideology itself, right? I'm not talking about any of the politicians or anything. I'm just talking about the ideology by itself. I don't mind fascism. Like if you look at examples like Oswald Mosley, right? Awesome. Like I have a great deal of respect for that guy. He had it down. He was pretty tough, but people don't really want to hear each other out. So they see this kind of attitude that's been adopted by a lot of right-wing young men, especially young white guys, and they immediately assume that the world is going to pieces, everything's horrible, and oh my gosh, fascism is on the rise again. All the white guys are evil and stuff like that. When in reality, it's just a reaction to their environment that's been created by certain groups of people that really don't like young white Christian guys, and so it's just the reaction that's been, I guess, kind of curated. So yeah, that's what's happening here. Yeah. Oh, that's about all I had to say. Sorry if my voice sounds like super shaky and stuff, by the way. It is. I don't know why, but I don't know. Today it's just kind of not. It's not all there. I don't know what that's all about. So sorry, but yeah. Anyway, if you stuck around to the end, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind subscribing or at least liking the video, I would also greatly appreciate that. But it's totally up to you. But yeah. So again, thank you for watching. Hope you guys all have a good day. God bless.